Paige to apply to a lot of apartment buildings.
Is your name Paige Funk?
That is my name.
I got some oil. Are you like gonna do a bath? You're grabbing my heels. Look how long they are.
No, yours are long.
You not ready?
Can you do a kind of a sound check / welcome?
Yeah.
Are we? Oh,
You're taller than me.
sorry.
I'm going to pull this out because I don't want to mess up your adjustments. There we go.
Sound check. Check. Okay, welcome everybody. We're so glad to see you. Thank you for coming. This is my 5th June Story Crossroads house concert. And I'm really excited to be able to have you guys here tonight and hear Paige Funk tell amazing stories. She's fun and very exciting, so I know we're going to have a really good time. A couple of house rules. We love young people, but the swing sets are off limits until after the concert, please. This is also a fundraiser. The money that you donate tonight, it goes toward a couple of things. First of all, it goes to pay Paige for her time tonight, but also it goes to the Story Crossroads Storytelling Festival. They do events all through the year, but in May they have a festival where youth tellers, community tellers, and professional storytellers come and they perform. They teach about story. They are constantly doing community outreach. And with current budget cuts, there were grants that evaporated and went away. So give what you can, and thank you for being a part of this. So do we have a thumbs up?
I've heard from some people, but they haven't told me about sound yet. They're saying they need the mic check. They're delayed from us, so it could be why.
Checking. We're also streaming this. And if you decide that you loved this and you want to have a copy of the video, if you contact the Story Crossroads, you too can also have access to the video.
Talk about awesome stuff about Story Crossroads.
Oh, okay. we're delaying tactics. Story Crossroads started very small, and it has grown every year. It's been 10 years since the Story Crossroads has been working. They actually have taken over some things from the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival. Their story conference is now the Story Crossroads Story Conference, and is all wrapped up with the May Storytelling Festival. So they have professors talking about different types of story, about language, about different things. Story Crossroads also partners with videographers and interpreters for ASL, so that they make sure that deaf people have access to these stories. I know that I have supported the Story Crossroads Storytelling Festival every year in my classroom. I teach storytelling. I have the kids learn how to tell a story. They have to choose a story, they have to practice it, and they have to perform it. And the students that do really well, I bring to the festival. So this year I had 2 students come and tell stories. One of them, I was so excited because English was not her first language. She spoke Chinese, and she told a Chinese folktale. And I think that was a first for us. She used a lot of Chinese words in her story, and it was pretty cool. I was very proud of her. I also had a boy tell that nobody expected him to be a good storyteller. He's my soccer boy. And we got the thumbs up. So he was my soccer boy. That's what his passion and his devotion is all towards soccer. And when he came out and told an amazing story, we were so proud of him. He did great. And so we have been able to support the Storytelling Festival since its beginning. So we're ready. We have a thumbs up. Welcome, guys. Come on in and have a seat. We're going to get started here. Once again, house rules. The swing sets are for after the concert, please. Otherwise, you can enjoy and listen to the stories, and then you can play on the swings and slide when everybody's done at the end, all right? So come on in, have a seat. We like to turn the time over. The front row is available. We're happy here. And we'll turn the time over to Paige Funk.
Sorry, I stole one of the front row chairs. So I have been thinking a lot about magic. And I've been thinking a lot about the kind of magic that you see in your everyday life, and the kind of magic that you can look for if you want to. So that's kind of the idea behind our concert tonight, is this idea of magic that you can find around you. And I have a song. It's going to kind of run through the concert with us. And this is a Paige Funk original. There's a fairy in my garden who sees the things I don't, who catches them in bubbles, and on the winds they float. Oh, the fairy in my garden, the fairy in my garden. So I have an invisible husband, and it's not, he wasn't always, right? He wasn't invisible when we met, though he might argue differently about that. And he wasn't really invisible when we got married. It was not until our first son was born that the radioactive spider bit and this superpower took over. And my husband became invisible. No, it's not that my husband wants to be invisible, but, well, let me illustrate. Let me give you an example of a Saturday morning several years ago at my house when we had 4 children between the ages of 3 and 11. Saturday mornings were my morning when I could sleep in, theoretically. Didn't have to get up with the kids because husband, and nobody had to get out the door, so I looked forward to Saturday mornings. Friday night, I would climb in bed, so excited. It was my son, Charlie. He was willing me awake with the powers of his mind. Oh, sorry, Mommy, did I wake you? It's fine. What do you need? Can I watch the TV? Yes, you can always watch the TV on Saturday mornings. Always. Cool. Thanks, Mommy. Bye. Okay, it's fine. Doing my best to ignore the snoring on the bed next to me. And then I hear it. Crash! You know how when some kids try to be quiet, they're louder than they would be if they just walked normally? This is my oldest. Mommy, are you awake? Yes, I am. I am awake. What do you need? Can I play the Switch? Yes. You can always play the Switch on Saturday mornings. Thanks, Mommy. And out he goes. Closes the door, lay down, hear my husband get up in the distance. Mommy! 3 years old. Mommy, can I have a drink of water? Yeah. Can you get it for me? Violet, sweetie, where's your dad? Oh, he's playing the computer. The computer that you had to pass to get up here? Yes! The computer that is literally in the kitchen? Yes! Violet, ask your dad, please. Oh, okay, Mommy. Okay. It's fine. Bang! Mommy! Are you awake? Are you awake yet, Mommy? I want to take a bath, Mommy. Mommy, are you awake? Can we get up? Can you help me? Can you help me take a bath, Mommy? Please, Mommy, are you awake? Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Hi, Alice. I love you. I'm sleeping. You can take a bath later if you need my help, or you can just go forth. I'll wait. Slam! I hear her slide down to the floor, right up against the door, and start waiting. She's not a still child. She wasn't at the age of 5, and she isn't now. And then you hear, Alice, what are you doing? I'm waiting for Mommy to wake up. Ooh, I want to wake too. And so, together, they're waiting. The next thing I hear, oh, hey girls, I'm gonna use the bathroom. Oh, okay, we're waiting for Mommy to wake up. Cool. Charlie goes into the bathroom. Woohoo, woohoo, we're waiting for Mommy to wake up. We should do jumping jacks. Yes, we should. And then one more set of feet come up the stairs. Girls, what are you doing? Mommy is trying to sleep. We're waiting for her, Andrew. We're waiting for her. She's gonna wake up and then she's gonna come help us. Don't you think you could wait somewhere else? That's silly. Don't you think it's better to wait right here? I hear Charlie come out of the bathroom. All 4 of my kids are right outside the door, and I hear, "Kids, your mom is trying to sleep." So that helped. And as I laid there in my bed, thinking about my invisible husband and being the one everyone needs all of the time, I just couldn't help but wonder if we had ever done this to our dads. And it was at that moment that I realized that I had. When I was about 14 years old, I had a family that I babysat for pretty much weekly. 3 young girls, all about a year apart. Every week found me at the Oversons' house, tending the girls, doing what we could, having a great time. But one Saturday afternoon, I was tending the girls and their baby cousin. And we were doing fine. We were playing the patty cakes and the peekaboos, and everything was going really well, except that I lost track of time. So the next thing we know, she is getting fussy. She was hungry. Okay, we can deal with this. I hand her off to the oldest, Janae. Rock the baby. So Janae's bouncing the baby and showing her the family pictures, and I go into the kitchen to make a bottle. And it's not just an easy bottle. No, it is a bottle with a hole in the bottom, and you have to put in the plastic liner. So I'm putting in the plastic liner, and I'm trying to fold it over, and I'm putting in the formula, and I'm putting in the water, I got the lid on, and I start shaking, and everything explodes. While the baby screams. "Paige, she just keeps getting louder. Okay, hand her off to Carrie. Okay." Passes her down to her next younger sister, who's still trying to calm down the baby, and I go for it again. Okay, liner, formula, water, lid, shake, explode. Oh gosh. Okay, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Oh man, that baby's got lungs. "Larissa, your turn." So she's bouncing the baby, and I'm making the bottle, and it explodes again. "Girls, I'm calling my mom." So I go to the phone that's hanging on the wall to call the phone that's hanging on my wall, and my dad answers. "Oh, hey, Dad, is Mom home?" "No, kid, I'm sorry, your mom's not home right now." "Do you know when she'll be home?" "No, kid, I'm sorry, she's out running errands. What's wrong?" "Well, Dad, I'm babysitting the Oversons and their baby cousin, and the baby won't stop crying because she's hungry, but I can't get the bottle to work because it keeps exploding. And I'm trying, and we're all going a little bit crazy because the baby is loud, and she's so hungry, and I feel so bad that she's hungry, but I can't feed her because the bottle keeps breaking, and I just don't know what to do, and I really just need Mom to come and help me." "Hey, Paige, I could come help you." "Oh, Dad, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. See you in a minute." Hang up. I grab the baby, and I'll just dance her till my dad gets here. Dance her till my dad gets here. Gonna be fine. Gonna be fine. My dad walks through that front door, walks straight to the kitchen, does the bottle like an expert, scoops that baby out of my arm, sits on the couch, and everything goes silent. And he looks up at me and he says, "You know, Paige, I have done this before." So yeah, maybe my dad was invisible too. So lying in my bed thinking about that story and going, okay, well, I guess this is a thing that happens, I hear outside the door. I hear my husband come up the stairs. He disbands 3 of the 4 children. Alice is still drumming on my door. "Alice, honey, what do you need?" "Well, I'm just waiting for Mommy so that she can help me take a bath." "Oh, yeah, I see. Can you think of any other solution that could help you take a bath?" Huh. "You know, I think I could do it by myself." "Great. Do that." Well, I don't know why the radioactive spider seems to bite dads. It's just my hope that someday it also bites children so they can see the dads. Every magical moment that only she can see goes flying through the air on every gentle breeze. Oh, the fairy in my garden, the fairy in my garden. Long ago, in the city of Baghdad, there lived a man named Abu Dah. Abu Dah was a rich man, but he was known throughout the city and admired, for he was not only rich, but he was generous with his wealth. And he had a wife and a family, and Abu Dah was profoundly unhappy. Every day was the same. You leave the house, you sell the things, you get the money, you go home, hug the missus, pat the children on the head. Every day, over and over. And the truth is, he was bored. So bored. So tired. So one night, when everybody was asleep, I was thinking about how bored he was. When he saw a little ebony box go flying through the air and land next to him. Well, that was not there before. And out of the little ebony box came a little yellow witch. Oh, Abu Dah, you are so unhappy. I want you to be happy. You should go on a quest to find the talisman of perfect happiness. In fact, I insist upon it. I shall bother you every night until you decide to go. And she did. Every night, the same thing. The box would fly. Out would come the little yellow witch. Oh, Abu Dah. Until he really just couldn't take it any longer. Fine. I will search for the talisman of perfect happiness. Just leave me alone. Good. Very good. So the next day he went out into the city and he began making inquiries of his neighbors. Do you know where I can find the talisman of perfect happiness? Do you know where I could find the talisman of perfect happiness? Do you know where I could find the talisman of perfect happiness? And none of them knew. And then one day, into his home walked a great sheik. Oh, Abu Dah, I know where to find the talisman of perfect happiness. You must go to the Valley of Riches, which is guarded by the great genii. It is not hard to get the talisman of perfect happiness. All you need is enough wealth and jewels and riches to tempt them. You mean I can buy happiness? I didn't think it would be that easy. Great. So he gathered all of his great wealth. It was put into boxes and carried on shoulders, and they went out in a great parade through the city of Baghdad, down the streets, and all came out. They saw the great treasure chests being carried. They saw animals of every kind, and because of the time and place where this story occurred, there were slaves playing music as they walked through the streets. And there at the back of the caravan, on a golden throne, sat Abu Dah in his great finery. They marched and walked and traveled out of the city of Baghdad into the desert. And they kept going and going, sure that at some point they would reach the Valley of Riches. And Abu Dah lorded over them all, watching them go. Oh. Oh. The caravan started disappearing. It turns out a great crevice was there in front of them, and everyone started falling in. But because Abu Dah could see it all, he reached up and grabbed a tree branch, and he pulled himself onto it just as the last things fell. Well, surely someone will crawl back out of the crevice. Surely they are all fine. And so he made himself comfortable, and he fell asleep. When he awoke, the tree was no longer made of wood, but gold. And as he looked out, he was in a valley of trees of silver and gold and diamond and ruby. And there in the distance was a palace. He scrambled down that tree and began his way to the palace, and he went through those doors, and there were the genii. There were great tall genii and afrits and marids. And he bowed himself down. Please, great genii, I come in search of the talisman of perfect happiness. Oh yes, we can help you with that. And 50 afrits, huge, giant afrits, carried in an iron box and set it before him. Take this home. Inside is the talisman of perfect happiness. Not to complain. Thank you for bringing it. It took 50 afrits to bring this in. How exactly do I carry it home? Would it not be easier for me to remove the talisman of perfect happiness and just carry that home by itself? You could, but it would not be wise. For as soon as that talisman hits the air, its aura will call all of the greedy, all of the seekers to it, and they will snatch it from you. Oh, well, we don't want that. Okay. But you see, you do not carry the box. The box carries you. Oh, and here are your 50 keys. For on the box were 50 locks. He took the keys, he put himself down onto the box, and found himself back home. Well, he scrambled through the keys and began to try them in the locks. None of the 50 keys fit any of the 50 locks. Oh, Abu Dah. How foolish you are to think that you could get the box and the keys at the same time. Do you not know how quests work? Now you must go in search of the keys. So he threw himself onto the box, and he was in the Garden of Delights, growing on the trees every sweet thing you could imagine, and growing up from the ground all of the savory. And flowing on the rivers were those liquids that make men silly. And there, sitting, enthroned in front of him, the daughter of a genie who ruled over the Garden of Delights. My lady, I am in search of the keys to open the iron box so that I may obtain the talisman of perfect happiness. I can help you. But there is a price to be paid. Nothing big, nothing extreme, just a little trade. You forsake everything back home, and you stay here forever and ever and ever. Here's your throne. Okay. And he climbed up and sat in that throne without even a second thought. And the moment he lowered himself into it, the ground began to shake. The walls around the garden began to shake. And the daughter of the genie, her skin began to crack like porcelain until she broke to dust. And there, oh, Abu Da, Abu Da, how unfair of you to forsake everything back home for this world of false pleasures. For your choice, you shall be entombed in a cavern forever and ever. And she vanished, and the walls began to shake in earnest. Rocks began to come down until he was trapped in a cavern. And the worst part, he couldn't find his box anywhere. Well, he searched and he searched and he searched, and nowhere could he find his box. Where was his talisman of perfect happiness? He could live in a cavern forever and ever if he just had the talisman of perfect happiness. He gave up. He threw himself down on the ground and, fine, I'll just live here forever. Oh, Abu Da, are you so faithless that you would quit at the first sign of trouble? I will listen to the big scary voice. So he began trying to climb up the walls of the cavern, having to pry his fingers into tiny crevices and his toes, climbing. Eventually, he wasn't in a cavern anymore, but climbing the side of a mountain, higher and higher and higher. And when he reached the top of that mountain, there before him was an army, ready for war. Sultan Abu Da, what are your orders? Well, seeing as you are all kitted out and ready for war, let's conquer something. Yes, Sultan? But what? He began to look down the mountain, and he saw a small village. Them. My Sultan, we will do whatever thou asks. But we will let you know that they are a peaceful people. Well, exactly why they don't deserve their land. I want it. Let's go get it. And so the army defeated the village, and they took them as slaves. You shall all dig into this mountain until you find my iron box. So they worked, and they dug, and they dug, and they dug, and they found it. They found the iron box and 0 keys. But you can make keys. Figure it out. And so they began to reverse engineer keys from the keyholes in the box. And finally, he had them. He had the 50 keys. And he took one, and he put it into the keyhole, and it fit. And he turned it, and it turned. So he grabbed the next key, and he went, and he put it in, and the first one unturned. It appears that they must all be turned at once. I need 50 men to come and turn the keys. And so 50 men came, and they gathered, and they each took a key, and in perfect unison inserted the keys and turned them. And lightning came from the sky and struck all those 50 men.
Oh.
Abu Da, 50 more. I need 50 more to try again. But you see, the people had seen that Abu Da was not all-powerful. And so they raised their weapons and their shovels and their picks, and they came toward him, and he threw himself on the box and found himself surrounded by books. He had made it to the garden of knowledge. perfect place to look for the location of the keys. And he began to grab the books and grab the books and read and read and read. Surely the location of the keys has to be in one of these books. There are so many books here, they must contain all knowledge. I'll keep looking. Just keep looking. He opened a book and found himself transported. And there before him was a giant genie. Oh, Abu Dah, I am one of the guardian genii, those who watch over King Solomon. It is time to show you what is in your box. But first, come forth, you little Ifrit. And out came the little yellow witch. Oh, my Ifrit of ambition. What have you been doing to this man? What I do to all? I send them out in search of the things they desire. And I will do it again and again and again, but not today. And he held her, this tiny little witch, in his hand and opened the iron box with magic. And out floated white feathers off on the breeze. And when Abu Dah looked inside, that was all there was. Feathers. Those feathers are the vain desires of men's hearts. The talisman of perfect happiness was never in an iron box. But you, my Ifrit of ambition, you shall be. And the genie threw her in and locked her in. He picked up that iron box and threw it into the sea. Abu Dah, the time has come. And Abu Dah found himself at home. Oh, Abu Dah, we have been so worried. It has been a whole day. We haven't seen you in so long. It's only been a day. Only a day. We were so worried. We didn't know what to think. We didn't know where you were. And he hugged his wife. And he patted his children on the head. And he saw one of them tossing something up into the air. Toss it here. But it was not a ball. It was a giant ruby. The giant genie appeared. Abu Dah, there you hold in your hand the talisman of perfect happiness. Here, all along. And from that day forth, Abu Dah kept hold of the talisman of perfect happiness. But in those moments when he forgot that he had it, he knew exactly where to find it. She catches every giggle, every dance and every cheer, and sends them off upon the wind for all the world to hear. But when she catches sorrow, the tears and the shouts, she wraps them up in dandelion fluff and soothes those cries and pouts. The old men were neighbors and had been for years. They argued and bickered and fought. They harbored for each a grudging respect, but their hearts with competition were rocked. As they worked outside one day, a man walked down the path that separated yard from yard, and the two men noticed his hat. It wasn't that it was extraordinary in shape or design or in size. It was to the point, the color itself that captured the two old men's eyes. For it was quite the brightest hat the men had ever seen. Said one, "Oh, what a brilliant blue." The other, "I think you mean green." The first looked at the second in silent alarm. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean. The color I saw, 'twas as plain as day. That color was blue and not green. I know my colors well, you see. I've known since a young man. I cannot mistake green for blue, but my friend, perhaps you can. You think you're so smart with your books and your words, but I am a man of the land. For you, a color, it's just an idea, but I've held it between my two hands. I don't see how, with your nose in a book, you can think you've got color down. A book is only black and white. To know color, you must look around. And well, that's how it was as they went back and forth, till they really weren't saying a thing. They surely weren't forming a sound argument, and you know they were not listening. Eventually, it boiled down to two simple little words. 'Twas blue, it was green. Blue, green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green. Ah! The old men were neighbors and had been for years. They argued and bickered and fought. And on that fateful day, it was more of the same, through the bitterness time had taught. Eventually, it boiled. I sang that part already. The old men were neighbors and had been for years. They argued and bickered and fought. And well, on that day it was more of the same, through a bitterness time had taught. As they worked outside that day, a stubborn silence sat, when up the path came a certain man, and our two men noticed his hat. And well, it was at this point, when the men could see the hat from the other side, that they realized that that hat was actually two colors, and they had been arguing about nothing all day long. The old men were neighbors and had been for years. They argued and bickered, it's true, until that fateful day when the man in the hat taught them something about point of view. two colors, both green and blue. The fairy in my garden knows sometimes life is hard, and so she loves with all her heart those children in my yard. I have a favorite memory with my grandpa. I was about 10 years old and I came down the stairs just as he was leaving out my front door. Paige, follow your grandpa. 10 years old. I love following my grandpa. So I went out the door and he was gone. I hustled down the stairs and I went around Grandpa's motorhome, fully expecting to have to chase him down the street. There he was, just standing by my mailbox. So I went over and I stood next to him and we looked at the Colorado Rockies. Now, my grandparents traveled everywhere for a time in that motorhome. And whenever we saw it pull up, oh, we were so excited. There was a bathroom and a kitchen in their car. We always wanted to go in and explore, which took all of 3 minutes, if you stretched it out. But we were always so excited to see it pull in. But the thing is, my grandpa did not always trust our driveway to be able to hold his motorhome. And it was less about the motorhome and more about the driveway. He was really, really worried that he was going to crack it. And that was going to be a problem for my parents. And so for the first while, when they would bring out their motorhome, they would find somewhere to park it and stay. And it was one of these times when they were coming over and they were going to go stay somewhere else that one of our Colorado blizzards hit. Now, here's what you need to know about Colorado blizzards. When they hit hard. And everyone gets trapped in their houses for about a day. And then it all melts, and you can go about your business. And this was one of those. So my parents are anxiously in the house, wondering where my grandparents are going to be. I'm a little tiny human at this point, so cell phones, nothing. So they just have to wait and wonder and hope that my grandparents made it to Colorado safely. The next morning, the roads are clear, they get in their car, they drive to where they usually park the motorhome, and they begin wandering through this motorhome park to find my grandparents. Someone comes over. Hey, you looking for an older couple from Utah? Yes, have you seen them? Your dad told me to tell you he's leaving and he's never coming back. Perfect. But my grandparents didn't actually leave the city. My parents were able to find them and convince them to stay, and they did come back many, many times after that. But this is kind of who my grandpa was. If he had an idea in his head of how something should go, it would go that way. So be it. My grandpa, in fact, insisted on being in the delivery room for the births of each of his 5 children, which today doesn't seem very bizarre, but his oldest was born in 1947. No, that's not true. 1937. And his youngest was born in 1950. And men were not allowed in delivery rooms. But he insisted that he wanted to be there in case anything went wrong. He wanted to be able to pray over my grandma. He convinced his doctor, her doctor, and they put him in a chair in the corner where he sat and waited for the births of his 5 children. Grandpa could be a little loud. He could be a little stern. But the thing is, I knew a different grandpa than the rest of my cousins. I am the youngest of 25 cousins. And by the time I was 2 years old, Grandpa was starting to show signs of Alzheimer's. And so his memory wasn't very good. And he started to lose his capability of doing certain things. I remember sitting in the car with him. Anytime we were driving around Salt Lake City, we would be sitting in the car and Grandpa would be sitting in the back seat next to me going, Snell Grove's Ice Cream Parlor. Hires Big H. And the one that was new and he hadn't seen much before, Walmart. He read every sign. It didn't matter if it was big or if it was little, he read every sign. I remember asking my mom about it. Well, Paige, I think because he remembers how to read, he insists on doing it. That made sense to me. I remember sitting in church with my grandparents. We were young, and there was someone, he was speaking, giving some kind of a sermon, and man, he was long-winded. And all of us were sitting and just waiting for him to be done when my grandpa said what everyone was thinking. Oh, this guy. He just goes on and on and on. My grandma was mortified. The rest of us were trying not to laugh. Yeah, that one was fun. And it probably wasn't the same Sunday, but it could have been, that we went back to my grandparents' house and we sat at their little Formica table eating roast and potatoes with horseradish. When my grandpa speared a whole horseradish and put it in his mouth. We weren't used to that kind of language. We thought that was really funny too. But the other things. My grandpa would be talking face to face with my grandma and then turn around and yell, Lavella! Lavella! Not remembering that she was standing right in front of him. And he always wanted to go home. It didn't matter if he was standing in his very own family room. When can we go home? Can we go home yet? I'm ready to go home. Let's go home. And so he would go next door to my aunt's house for about 5 minutes until, can we go home now? I'm ready to go home. Let's go home. Back and forth. For the last 2 years of his life, my grandpa lived in a memory care unit. And I hated that place. The first time I went there, I was 12, probably. There was the lady who was wandering around asking for help, and nobody helped her. But on that first visit, my mom and we took my grandpa on a walk outside, and my mom sang him some of the old songs. On Moonlight Bay. And then she sang By the Light of the Silvery Moon, and Grandpa ended it with la da da da. Grandpa passed the week that I turned 14. And my grandma lived another 10-ish years. And at Grandma's funeral, it was hard to be sad because she'd been basically without her husband for 20 years. And we were just glad that we could be there and celebrate their reunion. And my parents asked my brother and my sister and I, well, my mom, my aunts and uncles, asked us to sing this song that my grandma's brother helped make famous with his band. Except we're going to keep. When it's springtime in the Rockies, I am coming back to you, little sweetheart of the mountains, with your bonny eyes of blue. Once again I'll say I love you, while the birds sing all the day. When it's springtime in the Rockies, in the Rockies far away. I have this favorite memory with my grandpa. I came hurrying down the stairs from my bedroom just in time to see him go out the front door. Paige, follow your grandpa. I was 10 years old, happy to follow my grandpa. So I went out the door, I hustled down the stairs, I came around his motorhome fully expecting to have to chase him down the street. But he was just standing there next to the mountains, looking up at those Colorado Rockies. I went over, and I stood next to him. Isn't it beautiful? And we stared at those Colorado Rockies until he was done. There's a fairy in my garden who sees the things I don't, who catches them in bubbles, and on the winds they float. Oh, the fairy in my garden, the fairy in my garden. Every magical moment that only she can see goes flying through the air on every gentle breeze. Oh, the fairy in my garden, the fairy in my garden. She catches every giggle, every dance and every cheer, and sends them off upon the wind for all the world to hear. But when she catches sorrow, the tears and the shouts, she wraps them up in dandelion flow and soothes those cries and pouts. Oh, the fairy in my garden knows sometimes life is hard, and so she loves with all her heart those children in my yard. Oh, the fairy in my garden, sweet fairy in my garden. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. It was so lovely to share stories with you, and you who tuned in online, thank you all so much. Wonderful to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. I appreciate that so much. Give her one more hand, please. I have refreshments. I went magical. I've got little tarts. I have lemon blueberry and raspberry vanilla and blackberry chocolate, dusted with a little bit of fairy dust, known as edible glitter. And the bottom tray is all gluten-free and not contaminated if that's something that you worry about. So thank you again for coming, and have a good evening. Oh, one more thing. Rachel has some announcement.
This is the 92nd house concert. Can we have a big round of applause for Story Crossroads, the 92nd house concert? And of course, yeah, Julie Barneson and Jay, because they're together, they're a team. They have been hosting for how many years now? 5 years in this beautiful space. A warm applause to the Barnesons. And just how magical with Paige. I mean, we had so many kinds of magic. And it's amazing how our personal stories can have those magical moments just as much as what you would think of in those fairy tale types of stories. I just really appreciate that we had so many kinds of magic today. And another round of applause to Paige. I mean, I know Julie was already up here thanking on that, but we have to do it again. And it seemed like you were... Oh, that's right. So the very, very first house concert, December of 2015, and Julie Barneson performed at the first one, and she did Victorian ghost stories, which if you know Julie, then that you probably are not surprised of that. And so we know that down the road we'll see her and hear her again as well. But one of the things I want to let you know about, just a heads up, is that several of you have already donated. And people with the house concerts, you can come whether or not you donate. Just your applause, your presence is just beautiful for us. It really is. But if you've heard the news, not just Story Crossroads, but a lot of arts organizations, a lot of humanities organizations, we're facing a lot of creative moments, let's just call it that way, creative moments. And suddenly grants that we usually get suddenly don't exist. The federal funding has really cut, and just for Story Crossroads alone, just to let you know, we're already going to be short $15,000. So we are doing a campaign kicking off on July 1st to do that. So tonight or July 1st, we're going to try to figure out the gaps, because we do a lot more than our house concerts. We work with like 10-week programs with students. We work 10-week programs with older adults to find their stories, to develop them, and so much more than that. So there's a lot of behind-the-scene things that we do that we'd like to make sure we still do in the year of 2025. And that's something that we're seeing into 2026 as well. I also want everyone to be aware too, is that we are very creative. We do have a plan to try to somehow figure this out. We are also restructuring our festival, and it will still happen. To us, it's very, very important. We had 43 community tellers, and that doesn't include the professional story artists that performed with us this past May. And Paige being one who's we've featured, and we've featured Julie Burnson before. I mean, there's just amazing performers, right? But we are restructuring it so that we still can honor and have the same number of youth tellers, older adult tellers, and professionals. We just have to redo it so that instead of, for example, a festival that usually costs about $26,000 a year to run, we now, to be sustainable, have to somehow make it work with maybe $10,000 or less. So that's just how dramatic that we are making those adjustments. We, as a board, are figuring that out. You may have ideas too, and we're working to collaborate more with the libraries and so forth so that we can kind of together work through this creatively. With that said, if suddenly you're like, oh yes, I want to give, this is a QR code that you can scan. If we have Venmo option, or you might say any other option, which is like, you know, Stripe, PayPal, all that. So you have all those options, and then of course the traditional cash or check way as well. I have a friend of mine that says, pay what it's worth. What was this experience like for you? But I think it's time for those tarts, don't you? Okay, let's do that. So thank you, everybody, and please explore storycrossroads.org. We're so glad to have you here at the 92nd House Concert.
Thank you for coming. Oh, I know you would. You know that.
You know I'm honored.
Yeah. It's big. It's huge.
It is.
So I better go.
This is something I know, but
I know.
But do thank you.
I will.
Because I do really appreciate it.
I will.
Because I know that.
Yeah. It's.
And I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, darling. Lovely.
Well, we knew with Paige it was going to be beautiful.
All right.
Yeah. Take him a tart or two.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure my kids will quickly. Oh yeah, I see her with. Yeah. I hope they she shares, so there's enough for everybody.
Well, all of the kids were so patient waiting for the playground.
Yeah.
I heard one mom go, okay, now you can go.
Now you may go. Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
And
Poor things.
They say the difference between a hobby and a business is that a business pays you money and a hobby you pay into it. And I think we're on the side of business.